72 hours, that is how long your home stays livable after the power goes out in winter. After that, the temperature inside drops below 50 degrees, then 40, then freezing. And if you have no backup plan, you are living in a refrigerator with walls. In February 2021, Texas learned this the hard way. Over 700 people died when the power grid collapsed. Entire families froze to death inside their own homes, not in the wilderness, not on a mountain, in their living rooms. But here is the part that haunts me. Your great-grandparents survived every winter without electricity. No central heating, no electric blankets, no furnace with a thermostat. They raised families, ran farms, and lived full lives in homes that would make a modern American cry. How did they do it? They knew things we have forgotten. Simple tools, ancient techniques, methods passed down for hundreds of years that we threw away the moment we plugged into the grid. Today, I am going to teach you the 10 items your ancestors used to survive brutal winters without a single watt of electricity. These are not expensive gadgets. These are not complicated systems. These are simple, proven, budget-friendly tools that have kept humans alive for centuries. And when the next winter storm knocks out your power for days or weeks, these 10 items will be worth their weight in gold. This is the knowledge they do not want you to remember. Let us begin. Number 1. Soapstone bed warmer and heated bricks. Before electric blankets, before heated mattress pads, before any of that existed, there was this. A soapstone bed warmer is a flat piece of soapstone, about the size of a brick, that pioneers heated by the fire all day. At night, they wrapped it in cloth and placed it at the foot of their bed. That single stone radiated gentle heat for 6 to 8 hours straight. If they could not afford soapstone, they used regular bricks. Same principle, heat it in the fireplace, wrap it in newspaper or cloth, place it under the blankets. Simple, here is the science. Soapstone has an incredible ability to absorb heat and release it slowly over time. It does not get dangerously hot to the touch like metal. It warms gradually and evenly. This is why soapstone stoves are still considered some of the best wood stoves in the world. A quality soapstone bed warmer costs $20 to $50 and will last forever. Or you can use regular house bricks for free. Heat them on any surface, a wood stove, a propane burner, a campfire, even a gas grill. The beauty of this system is zero electricity and zero ongoing cost. Once you own the stone, you own it for life. Your grandchildren could use the same stone. During the Texas freeze, people who knew this trick stayed warm while their neighbors shivered. They heated bricks on their gas stoves while they still had gas, then used those bricks to warm their beds for the entire night. This is the forgotten wisdom your great-grandmother knew. And it works just as well today as it did 200 years ago. Number 2. Hot water bottle. The rubber hot water bottle might be the most underrated survival item in existence. For $10 to $20, you get a portable heat source that requires nothing but hot water. Fill it up, screw on the cap, wrap it in a towel. Place it at your feet, against your core, or between your legs. Instant warmth for 4 to 6 hours. Hot water bottles replaced the brass warming pans that pioneers used before rubber was widely available. Those brass pans were filled with hot coals and slid between the sheets. But hot water bottles are safer, simpler, and last longer. Here's how pioneers used them. At night, everyone in the family had their own bottle. Mother would boil a large pot of water before bed, fill the bottles, and distribute them. By morning, the bottles were cool, but the body heat trapped under the blankets kept everyone warm until the fire was restarted. In a grid-down scenario, you can heat water over any flame. A campfire, a rocket stove, a propane burner. Even a few candles under a pot will eventually get water hot enough to use. Pro tip, use a hot water bottle to preheat your sleeping bag before climbing in. The bag traps the heat, and your body maintains it. You sleep warm all night with zero electricity. Hot water bottles are still used daily in the United Kingdom, where central heating was not common until recently. They know something Americans have forgotten. Simple works. Number 3. Heavy wool blanket. If you own only one survival blanket, make it wool. Wool has a property that no synthetic material can match. It retains heat even when wet. A wool blanket can absorb up to 30% of its weight in moisture before it even feels damp. And while it is absorbing that moisture, it continues to insulate. This is why armies around the world have issued wool blankets for centuries. Soldiers sleep in rain, snow, and mud. Synthetic blankets fail in those conditions. Wool does not. A military surplus wool blanket costs $25 to $50. Look for 80% wool or higher. The remaining 20% is usually synthetic to prevent shrinkage and add durability. Wool is also naturally flame retardant. If a spark from your fire lands on a wool blanket, it smolders and goes out. If a spark lands on a synthetic blanket, it melts into your skin. This is not an exaggeration. Synthetic materials burn, wool does not. Your great-grandparents piled wool blankets on their beds. 3, 4, 5 layers deep. They understood that insulation is survival. The more layers between your body and the cold air, the more heat you retain. In a winter emergency, wrap yourself in a wool blanket before doing anything else. Wrap it over your clothes, wrap it over your head. Create a cocoon of wool between your body and the cold. This single action can prevent hypothermia for hours while you figure out your next move. Wool is heavy, wool is old-fashioned, and wool will save your life when everything modern fails. Number 4. Draft snakes and door stoppers. Your great-grandmother did not have weather stripping. She had draft snakes. A draft snake is simply a long fabric tube filled with rice, sand, dried beans, or sawdust. You place it at the bottom of doors and windows to block cold air from entering. That is it. Does it sound too simple to matter? Here is the truth. A significant amount of your home's heat loss happens through gaps under doors and around windows. Cold air rushes in through the bottom while warm air escapes through the top. Draft snakes interrupt this cycle, making a draft snake cost almost nothing. Take an old sock, fill it with rice, sew it shut, done. If you want something fancier, sew a long tube from fabric and fill it with sand for extra weight. Place draft snakes at every exterior door. Place them at windows that feel cold. Place them at the door to any room you are not heating. The goal is to create a single warm zone in your home and seal it off from the rest. During the Texas freeze, families who sealed off one room and huddled together survived. Families who tried to heat their entire house failed. Draft snakes help you concentrate your heat where it matters. This is not high technology. This is common sense that every generation before ours understood. Stop the cold air from coming in. Keep the warm air from going out. A $5 tube of rice can reduce your heat loss by 5 to 10%. Number 5. Feather bed or down comforter. For centuries, a feather bed was the most prized possession in a household. A traditional feather bed was a large fabric bag stuffed with 30 to 50 pounds of goose or duck feathers. Families placed it on top of their mattress and slept inside it like a cocoon. The feathers trapped body heat and created a warm microclimate that lasted all night. Feather beds were so valuable that they were listed in wills and passed down through generations. When a young woman married, her feather bed often came with her as part of her dowry. Today, we call them down comforters. The principle is identical. Down feathers have tiny filaments that trap air. That trapped air acts as insulation. The more down, the more insulation, the warmer you stay. A quality down comforter costs $50 to $150. Look for a fill power rating of at least 600. Higher fill power means better insulation per ounce. In a grid-down winter scenario, your sleeping system is your survival system. If you can stay warm while sleeping, you can recover body heat lost during the day. A down comforter over a good sleeping bag with a hot water bottle at your feet creates a sleep system that can handle temperatures well below freezing. The pioneers understood something we have forgotten. You do not need to heat your entire house. You just need to heat your body. A down comforter does exactly that. It traps the heat your body produces and reflects it back to you. This is not luxury. This is survival technology perfected over centuries. Number 6. Rocket stove. If you could only have one heating and cooking device in a grid-down scenario, make it a rocket stove. A rocket stove is a small, super efficient wood-burning stove that uses 70 to 90% less fuel than a traditional fire. It burns small diameter wood like twigs, branches, and scrap lumber. And it burns so hot and clean that there is almost no smoke. The design is simple. A vertical combustion chamber creates an intense draft that pulls air through the fuel. This superheated air burns the wood more completely than any open fire can. The result is maximum heat from minimum fuel. You can build a rocket stove from 16 bricks stacked in an L shape. You can build one from 3 tin cans and some sand. You can build a permanent one from cob and clay that will heat your home for decades. Here is why this matters for survival. In a long-term grid-down scenario, fuel becomes precious. You cannot burn through a cord of firewood every week. A rocket stove lets you heat a room and cook your food with a handful of sticks that you gather from your yard. The rocket mass heater version takes this further. It channels the hot exhaust through a thermal mass like a cob bench or stone platform. That mass absorbs the heat and radiates it slowly for hours after the fire goes out. Some rocket mass heaters can heat a home for 12 hours on a single small fire. This is not primitive technology. This is appropriate technology. It uses the physics of combustion to extract maximum energy from minimum fuel. Your ancestors knew versions of this: the Korean ondol, the Chinese Kong. The Roman hypocost efficiency is survival. Number 7. Haybox or fireless cooker. During World War I and World War II, governments on both sides promoted haybox cooking. The reason was simple. Fuel was scarce and armies needed every drop for the war effort. A haybox is an insulated container that continues cooking food after you remove it from the heat. You bring a pot of stew to a boil, you let it simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. Then you place the entire pot inside the haybox and close the lid. 8 to 10 hours later, your food is fully cooked using zero additional fuel. The insulation traps the heat inside the pot. The temperature stays high enough to continue cooking but drops slowly enough that nothing burns. It is essentially a homemade slow cooker that requires no electricity. You can make a haybox from anything insulating. A box filled with hay, hence the name, a cooler stuffed with blankets, a basket lined with pillows, anything that traps air and prevents heat from escaping. The fuel savings are enormous. Traditional cooking might keep a fire burning for 4 hours. Haybox cooking requires fire for 15 minutes. In a winter survival scenario where every piece of wood matters, this technique could extend your fuel supply by weeks. Haybox cooking also keeps your shelter warmer. A boiling pot releases steam and heat into your living space. By moving the pot to the haybox after boiling, you get that initial burst of heat without the ongoing fuel cost. This technique has been used in Scandinavia, across Europe, in Africa, and throughout Asia for centuries. It works everywhere because physics works everywhere. Your great-grandmother knew this, now you do too. Number 8. Tallow candles and oil lamps. Before electricity, every home in America had candles and oil lamps, not just for light, for heat. A single candle produces about 75 to 85 Ts per hour. That sounds like nothing. But 10 candles burning in a small room produce 700 to 850 BTUs. Over several hours, that adds up. It will not heat a room by itself, but combined with insulation and body heat, it makes a difference. More importantly, candles provide light, and light provides morale. In a winter blackout, darkness falls by 5 in the afternoon. That leaves 14 hours of complete darkness. The psychological impact is crushing. Candles change everything. Pioneers made their own candles from tallow, which is rendered animal fat. After butchering a cow or pig, they saved the fat, melted it down, and poured it into molds. One animal provided enough tallow for a year of candles. You can still make tallow candles from cooking fat. Save the grease from bacon, beef, or any fatty meat. Strain it, melt it. Pour it into containers with a wick. Homemade candles are not pretty, but they burn. Oil lamps provide more light than candles with similar heat output. A basic kerosene lamp costs $10 to $20. A gallon of lamp oil lasts for weeks of daily use. Here is the survival equation. Light equals sanity. Sanity equals will to survive. Will to survive equals survival. Your ancestors understood that darkness is an enemy. They fought it with fire every single night. Stock candles, stock lamp oil, stock matches, fight the darkness. Number 9. Thermal curtains and heavy drapes. Approximately 260 words. Approximately 2 minutes in Victorian homes. Windows were covered with multiple layers of heavy fabric. Not for decoration, for survival. Glass is a terrible insulator. A single-pane window loses heat 25 times faster than an insulated wall. Even modern double-pane windows leak significant amounts of heat. Your windows are the weak points in your home's thermal envelope. Heavy curtains create an air gap between the glass and the room. That trapped air acts as insulation. The thicker the curtain, the larger the air gap, the better the insulation. Thermal curtains cost $20 to $50 per window. They are lined with foam or multiple fabric layers specifically designed to block heat transfer. In summer, they keep heat out. In winter, they keep heat in. But here is the pioneer hack. If you do not have thermal curtains, use blankets. Hang a wool blanket over every window. Tack it to the window frame with nails or thumbtacks. Seal the edges as tightly as possible. You can also hang blankets over doors to rooms you are not using. The goal is to shrink your living space to the smallest possible area and insulate that space as heavily as possible. During the Texas freeze, people who covered their windows with blankets and moved mattresses into the smallest room survived. They understood instinctively what every pioneer knew: you cannot heat a mansion. You can only heat a shelter. Reduce, insulate, concentrate. Your thermal curtains are not decoration. They are armor against the cold. Number 10. Layered clothing system. The final item is not something you buy. It is something you learn. Every cold weather culture in history understood layering. The Inuit, the Scandinavians, the Russian peasants, the American pioneers. They all wore multiple layers of clothing with specific purposes. The base layer sits against your skin. Its job is to wick moisture away from your body. Wet skin loses heat 25 times faster than dry skin. Your base layer must be wool or synthetic, never cotton. Cotton absorbs moisture and holds it against your skin. This is why survival instructors say cotton kills. The middle layer provides insulation, fleece, wool sweaters, down vests. This layer traps air and creates a buffer between your warm body and the cold outside. The outer layer blocks wind and moisture, a windproof shell, a rain jacket, even a plastic garbage bag. Wind strips heat from your body faster than still air. Your outer layer stops that wind. Pioneers wore 4 to 5 layers indoors during winter. They understood that heating the body is more efficient than heating the building. A person wearing proper layers can stay comfortable in a 40-degree house. A person in a t-shirt needs 70 degrees. In a grid-down scenario, dress for survival. Wear your base layer to bed, add layers as the house cools. Keep your head covered, keep your feet insulated. Lose the fashion sense and gain the heat retention. The clothing you own right now could keep you alive in temperatures that would kill someone in modern casual wear. You just need to layer it correctly. Your body is the furnace. Clothing is the insulation. Never forget that. Let us add this up. Soapstone bed warmer, $25. 8 hours of heat from a single warming. Hot water bottle, $15. Portable heat requiring only hot water. Wool blanket, $35. Warmed even when wet, draft snakes, $5 or free. Seals your heat inside, down comforter, $75. The warmest natural insulation on Earth. Rocket stove, $25 in materials. 90% fuel savings, Haybox cooker, free, Cooks food with almost no fuel. Tallow candles and lamp, $20, light and heat combined. Thermal curtains, $40. Armor for your windows, layered clothing, $50 at a thrift store. Your body becomes the furnace, total investment, less than $300. For the price of one electric space heater that requires a working grid, you have assembled a complete winter survival system that requires nothing but fire and knowledge. Your great-grandparents survived without any of the technology we depend on. They raised families in log cabins. They worked farms in blizzards. They buried children and kept living through winters that would break us. They were not tougher than us. They simply knew things we have forgotten. The next grid failure is not a question of if, it is a question of when. And when it comes, the 72-hour window will start ticking. Will you be ready with the knowledge of your ancestors? Or will you be waiting for a rescue that may never come? Get these items, learn these skills. Become the person your great-grandmother would be proud of. The forgotten wisdom is yours now. Use it.